Hello, welcome to Getting Started in iOS. This video aims to help you integrate the QuickPose SDK into your own app. This video is split into three sections. The first section will create an app from scratch, and in the second section will install the QuickPose SDK, and the third section will create more advanced scenarios where you can improve the UI and integration of QuickPose to your own app. Right, let's begin. So we start off on the GitHub page, and this is where you can get access to the install link for the Swift package manager. If I create a new project in Xcode, I get a view similar to this. I hit next. Good old demo app. I'm choosing Swift UI here. We also support UIKit, but for the purpose of this demo video, you choose Swift UI. So, as the Xcode project loads, you can see there's only a few files here, and there's a view which is being rendered as a preview here. Unfortunately, the content previews don't work with the AI framework, so we're going to have to hide these for now. But what does work is if you run it locally on a Silicon Mac, so you can run Design for iPad. Whilst this is loading, I'm going to choose the package. This is what the app looks like when it's running. Pretty simple. I'm going to install our GitHub repo into Swift Package Manager, which you do here, and I've got our GitHub link. Yes. If you're on UIKit, only choose the top three. If you're using Swift UI, choose all of them. This gives you some helper classes, so you can get rid of boilerplate, and the camera gives you some helper classes as well. So I'm just going to tidy up some of the boilerplate here we no longer use. So we have our basic application with our QuickPose SDK installed with Swift Package Manager. Here's a little overview of the next steps. For QuickPose to run, it needs to have a camera feed coming in, and we need to display the imaging results coming out. In Swift UI, we use some helper classes. So we have a camera view which shows the camera feed, but it also passes a camera instance to QuickPose, and we should have an overlay view which shows the output. So if I start off by blanking out the original view, and I'm going to import the Swift UI helper classes. So in that we should have a simulated camera view. I'm just going to say it is a front camera for now, it doesn't really matter. And it wants a delegate, and a video. So I've prepared a video earlier. This is a rain dance video, you might have seen it before. It just gives you some helpful movements so you can test if QuickPose is running correctly. And I'm going to connect that up in the code, so you can reference local files using a call to your bundle, and the rain dance and extension mob. It's asking for a delegate type. This is our prompt to install QuickPose. SDK, oh yes, need to import it first. QuickPose core, SDK key, cool. Here's an SDK key I prepared earlier, but go to dev.QuickPose.ai for yours. I'm going to pass that new QuickPose instance to the delegate. So if I run this now, on the right we should see the dancing dude. Oh, we get an error. So I've probably not attached this to the target. There we go. Make sure you do that. we've got that dancing dude there, very happy. So like I was saying before, there's a few steps before we start to see the AI features being shown on the right. The second step is to add the overlay view. So we have an overlay image which is passed into this view from QuickPose. So I'm going to create a UI state here which is called overlay image, and this is an optional UI image, and as this is a state I can pass it through to this binding object here, and I'm going to put that in a Z stack so it's one on top of the other. For performance reasons, we don't really want to edit the camera feed in real time, we want to overlay something on top of it which allows more GPU work. Okay, sorted with a restart of Xcode. Thank you, Apple. Okay, so we have an overlay view which is doing nothing, and we've got a simulated camera view loading a video. The missing step is adding QuickPose. So when this view appears, we want to connect QuickPose from the camera to the overlay. So QuickPose start, some features. Now let's put an overlay on. Upper body, no style, and then on each frame which is processed, it outputs a status, an output image, some results, and some points. I'm gonna only really be using the image output for now, and we'll go into the other areas in later videos or as a more advanced use case at the end of this video. So I'm just going to hide the rest. So the key one here for us is output image. I'm going to hide that, and I'm going to hide that. So next step is to overlay image, is to overwrite the overlay image with the output image. So if I just hit run, ta-da! We've got ourselves a dancing man with an overlay. I can change where this overlay is positioned, so we can do, say, left arm, and then we can also have multiple overlays, so I can do user right arm, so overlays are quite a basic feature. It's not the most low-level feature, so I'm going to show you the landmarks. So this is the kind of raw features coming out of the AI. It's given key points up and down the body, and that's what is returned here in the landmark section. So if we printed what we saw here, these values would correspond to what we're seeing with the points. You can see a bunch of coordinates. Now these are the raw coordinates, so it's not the pixel XY, it's 0 to 1, which the framework likes to work in. So in terms of building up more advanced features, I want to show you a few things. I think range of motion is a really exciting feature. So I'm going to choose range of motion on this guy's hip, because boy does his hips move, and I'm going to choose these settings. So I can now hide landmarks. So we can see a range of motion there. That's kind of cool. And don't forget we can stack all these features on top of each other. So if you wanted to add multiple measurements, you can just keep adding. I think it would be nice to demonstrate a style feature here. So I'm going to set the style to have a smaller setting. This is a QuickPose style, so make sure we're getting the right one. There we go. There's a few things I want to talk through here. The relative font size, does what it says in the tin. These are all relative. So we provide a suggestion which is readable, but for quite a lot of use cases it can be too big. So I'm going to shrink the font size, say half, and then I'm going to shrink the angle arc. So we've got an arc size here. This is relative as well. Maybe half the size would be good. Let's try that. Oh, errors. I suspect another bracket is needed. Yep. What I'd probably suggest is pulling out this area here above. So we can do that now. Already finding it hard to keep track of it. Let basic style so we've got a smaller arc. I think the arc could probably be smaller still. Let's give that a go, and maybe we make the arc size 0.2. So the relative line width now we can maybe reduce, give that half. As you can see, you can sort of tweak and make sure your brand identity is followed. One other feature I do want to show you though is a conditional color. So a conditional color is an array, so you can have multiple ones of these, and you specify a min. So if you wanted to highlight a certain range, for example, I'm just going to choose anything below 150. So the minimum, there is no minimum, the max is 150, and for this colour I want to highlight it as green. So this allows you to have highlights when a user is doing well or doing badly. There you go. This is probably the most advanced part of the video with regards to the QuickPose feature set. Now I'm going to focus on making it more realistic to integrate into your application. There's a few complexities I kind of want to draw attention to. So normally when you start your app, you don't just jump into a kind of a simulated video of a dancing guy. So we've got ourselves the original app screen here, if you remember, and what I've been using is using a full screen cover to hide the QuickPose code. So we've got a show overlay state here, so I'll include that. So we've got a show overlay state, which means when we start up, this full screen cover is ignored. Where we started. Now, to transition between the two, I'm going to knock out that text and I'm going to swap it with a start button, which triggers the overlay. So then we can go in. We can't get out. So I'm going to put in a close button to return back to where we were. The default text color is black, so it's important to set the foreground color to something more visible. I'm going to just change the font size as well, so it's a bit bigger. Font size, nope. System and size 30. So we go in and we've got ourselves a start button here which does nothing. Right, so let's change that to stop and let's turn that to false. go in and you come out. And you go in and you come out. So, what's good is it's not showing multiple versions of the video. What I would suggest is calling stop as soon as you can on disappear. I was expecting this to be running in the background until you call stop. The reason it's not been that destructive is because you're keeping an instance of the QuickPose SDK here and you're just restarting with the new simulated camera every time, so it just connects to any camera you give it. Okay, so if I'm going to run that and keep an eye on the memory use, whenever you're doing anything with the camera or a video or ML, it's important to keep an eye on the memory use. So does the memory go down? Yes, the memory goes down. Whereas if I take in that QuickPose stop, I'm expecting the memory to stay high. So 25. There we go. So the memory's not being released. And there we go. I'm going to return that then. That sounds like quite a useful bit of functionality. I'm going to make another professional tweak here where I change the alignment of the stop button. A few users might already be wincing at that location. Top trailing for me is quite a good position for putting a stop button, and I think it's normally called like close or something like that, or done. So we hit start and then we see done here. I'm not too worried about the location of this because it's made a bit imperfect by the design for Mac. One thing you can do though to ensure it is to set the geometry of the view a bit more explicitly. So we're getting a geometry wrapper here, which then allows us to set the view at the back to a fixed size and to set the Z stack to a fixed size. Start. So that's a bit tidier already, and we can add padding as well to give it that little bit more polish. It looks like it's not being offset to the right, so I'm going to have a trailing padding in of 16. Fine, I'm happy with that. Okay, so we've gone through a few examples of how to integrate this into your app. We're still, however, only using the simulated camera view. So the next challenge will be to provide a version of this you can run on your phone. So to use the QuickPose camera, you use QuickPose camera view. Use front camera true, so that sets the default. And this is just a long speak for to insert our delegate. So I can't run this. Oh no, not delegate. On QuickPose. I can't run this on the Mac, but I can run this on my phone. So you can use QuickTime Player to make a movie recording of your iPhone. So this is my actual iPhone. I'm hoping I don't get any personal messages because it's taken me a long time to record this video. And now I'm going to target my phone, and we should see the camera view working on my device. Capital P. maybe it's interesting to show you can actually just run the video on your device as well. This is useful for demos. And running. This is one of the reasons why I don't like developing on a handset anymore. Yay! Oh, what a basic application. I'll hit start. Ah, there we go, we've got a dancing dude. Note the safe areas at the top and bottom haven't been observed. That's not really been the focus here, but the done button should work. And the energy impact is nice and low. But what I'm going to do now is show you how to use the camera view. So if I can just knock that out. Start. Hello. Right, oh, the feature was my left arm. Ooh. Oh no, it's my hip. So when my hip... Why is it that way? Oh, there we go. I think that's a pretty successful test. I have chosen quite a quiet area to work, so you'll see the advantages of pre-recording videos and running it on your Mac, I hope. The next features I kind of want to show are swapping between the front camera and the back camera. So we've provided a QuickPose switcher view for that. Camera switch view. So it allows you to swap between the front camera and the back camera based off a binding. So that can be a toggle which will swap forward and back, but for now the simplest version is to just call front camera false, and this will record whatever's behind the screen. Well, there we go. Some unintended advertising. I'm gonna actually show you how to implement the switch view. So we're going to set up a binding. Use front camera. And it's a binding. It takes our QuickPose delegate and we can tidy that up. What I suggest is you can test for whether the running application is running in a Mac or on a device. Let me show you the code for that. This is another project. Cool. So we can say here, if it's running on a Mac, choose the simulated camera view. Otherwise, use the switch view. So the eager-eyed among you may note that we're not using the binding here, not setting it anywhere, so we can have another overlay. This one will be top left, top leading, swap, and we are going to pass in use front camera, and we're going to toggle front camera. We might want to change the padding to leading as well. Okay. I knew to swap and add the leading padding. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so we'll put that in. Cool. There we go. Swap. Swap. Right, it seems to have found someone inside the Coke can. I daren't go around to show, but trust me, that is not a fake video. And there we go. Cool. So that's your advanced introduction on how to integrate this into your application. As a kind of brief recap, we importing the QuickPose SDK up here. We set up our camera inputs here. We either chose a simulated view or a camera switch view to swap between the front and back. You might be like, oh, can't I just use my own classes for this? You can, but there's quite a lot of boilerplate in here. So yeah, obviously at your discretion. The whole architecture around this has been allowing you to do as much as you want. The features here, for example, injecting the features, injecting the style, or make this a lot more configurable than an SDK which is a little more closed. Cool, that's all I've got today. Please put any comments or issues on the GitHub repo. Thank you.